Previously on WandaVision.
Snooper's gonna snoop.
Where are my children?
These are runes, Wanda. Only the witch that casts the runes can use her magic.
Vision was gone, but you wanted him back. He's all I have.
Well, that's just it, Wanda. He isn't yours. He's ours.
He was gonna burn Westview to the ground just to get what he wants. Don't let him make you the villain.
Maybe I already am.
This is chaos magic, Wanda. But that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another WandaVision video. So, the finale is out. Yes, as of 2 weeks ago, I'm very well aware of that. But I still love the show, and I'm still riding the hype. And if I look back at the channel homepage, and I don't see anything for the final episode, it's just going to stress me out. So, today, we are trying something a little bit new, a little bit different. We're doing more of a spoilercast type thing. As opposed to a breakdown and review of loads of Easter eggs. That's partly due to there not being that many things of note in this episode in terms of Easter eggs and stuff to break down and little things to notice. It's basically just one big half-an-hour fight scene. But also, it's kind of due to me going back to college and stuff like that with lockdown restrictions ending. It's a lot easier on me and Will and the channel and stuff like that. If we, going forward with The Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki and all the other shows, try something new, and we're thinking of doing an after show. So this is kind of a test for that. So let us know what you think about this new format, and if you like it, or if we should try going back to the old one, or even something new. So today, as I mentioned earlier, I am joined by Will, as always. Say hello, Will.
Hey, guys.
Will, I'm just going to quickly shout it out, because why not? Give him the followers. Guys, Will has been grinding on Twitch. He's been streaming, so please make sure to check out the Twitch, which will be linked below in the description. And yeah, anything to say, Will?
Well, hopefully, if this is out when we want it to be out, we'll be doing Marvel's Avengers and Square Enix reaction stuff today. If it's the same day, and if it's not, I'm sorry, and I've let you down, but we'll probably be uploading some of that stuff here anyway in a couple days, so we'll see.
Got to keep standing that game.
Exactly.
They will come to us, Will. They'll say we were right. They will.
Don't let it die!
So, do you want to get into it? Do you want to start off with anything you thought about this episode? We might as well quickly review it before we break some stuff down. What are you thinking of the finale?
I mean, it's obviously not what people were... I don't want to say expecting, because it's a lot of fan theories that were saying, like, oh, this is going to appear, Doctor Strange, Mephisto, that stuff. Like, we were literally saying week after week, Mephisto is here.
Who said Mephisto? I didn't say that.
Yo.
Those dumbasses. What?
Yo, I don't know, man. I don't know. I always didn't expect anything to appear. Don't worry. But, like, I don't want to call it a letdown, because by itself, it's still, like, a really good, like, ending to the show. But going forward, I think that it was just lacking, like, a tiny bit of, like, the cameos and stuff that... Obviously, Paul Bettany was talking about it, like, oh, there's a big cameo, and it just turned out to be himself. But,
yeah,
like,
true.
They led us on quite a lot. Like, it was leading people on quite a lot, and I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I am a little bit in just how, like, lack of, like, connectivity the finale had. But, I mean, it doesn't change much. Like, one of the producers of the show was saying that it doesn't really change much because they can just, like, move it to Doctor Strange. I'm not sure if it was one of the producers. I think I've got the quote here. It was actually just an insider that was saying that they can just, like, move, like, his cameo, like, appearance, what was going to be in WandaVision, into Doctor Strange. So
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. They do tend to roll a lot of things over. Like comics do it all the time, shows do it all the time, movies do it all the time. Plot points that they can't fit into something or that just doesn't work out for that time, it almost always gets rolled into something in the future. I mean, we've seen it countless times with plot points from MCU films that have just rolled into others. So, it is what it is. I mean, I enjoyed it, but as you say, I feel like the fan theories, the quote unquote insider scoops, just didn't help the finale, or the way it was perceived, should I say. It was a solid finale. I genuinely loved it because I wasn't going into it necessarily expecting anything. I was just kind of being like, oh, it'd be cool if this happened. And I feel like that's where a lot of people went wrong in what they were doing. It was kind of more like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen. This is gonna show up. And I feel like when you start to do that, when you start to convince yourself and those around you via like reports and rumors and speculation that something is going to happen, then it just kind of ruins it. And I do feel bad for the creators.
Yeah, they've got to deal with all like the backlash and stuff from people that, listened to all these like reports and stuff saying, oh, this is going to be happening, whatever. But in reality, just didn't materialize. So they've got to deal with it, because it's like they knew that this stuff wasn't happening, and I'm sure up until like the finale they were like laughing about it all, but when they realized how like upset people are gonna be, they kind of like, oh shit,
exactly, yeah. Well, it kind of ruins it, because especially when they created something so wonderful and so beautiful. Wonderful. It is a shame, because it is a brilliant finale. Yes, I mean, we'll get into it later with like the cut down of episode numbers, but yes, it does feel a little bit rushed here and there. But overall, it's a solid episode, and when people get into their heads that these things are going to happen, and they make it definitive, and it doesn't, it ruins the experience for the creators, who should be willing to who should be wanting to sit back and watch the feedback roll in of how amazing what they've created is, when all they can find on Twitter and stuff like that is like, oh, why didn't Mephisto show up? Or, oh, Doctor Strange didn't do this or whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe not, but it's still really good if you look past all of the bullshit rumors.
I think people are just way too like expectant of the MCU to be so interconnected with each other. Like, I mean, I think people have been a bit spoiled leading up to Endgame, because like the films would just roll into the next one. Like Ragnarok went into Infinity War, then you got Captain Marvel going to Endgame, and then Ant-Man going into Endgame. Like, they were all so like more interconnected, and I think now they're just so expectant that this is all leading up to something bigger. Well, it is, because obviously there's still hints and stuff of what's going forward, but there's not so much like, oh, direct reference to this, apart from like maybe one or two things, like the post-credit scene or mid-credit scene, whichever one, because that's very clearly a link to the next Captain Marvel film. But again, it's like people just want to see so much like interconnectivity and linking to like the next thing, when necessarily they don't need to, because the show wasn't really built to be that. It was supposed to be about Wanda and Vision, but it's just, again, people like theorizing. They've got it like so locked into their head that this was going to happen, because I'm blaming TikTok here. Most of this stuff has literally just come from TikTok, and people are like, I found something in WandaVision. Oh, and then I just think that people just went way, way too far about what they wanted to see.
Too far. And I think you bring up a really interesting point there about it being interconnected and people expecting it, when they forget that Iron Man is still in the multiverse saga, and not the multiverse, the Infinity Saga. Sorry, and the Infinity Saga has spanned 10 years, and when you think about that, it's like in Iron Man, they hadn't planned for it yet, but by the time you got to like Iron Man, Captain America, then Avengers, then you got like Iron Man 3 and so on, up until like a few years before Infinity War, there wasn't that much sort of like ramming down your throat of like, oh yeah, this is interconnected to this piece, there's this piece, and then it all come together and culminate in Endgame. It was slow going, and then it ramps up when it's closer to it. It's like anything. So when you get like what I imagine is going to be like a multiverse saga or some kind of secret invasion saga, when they're teasing that already, you don't know how far Feige's plans stretch for this portion of the MCU. It could be another 10 years. So of course they're going to play it slow with their interconnectivity in these first few years, and then they'll ramp it up later on.
Oh yeah, and also interesting that you say that, because I was thinking that I'm honestly not 100% sure how long this like saga is going to go on for. Like, and it's also clear that they're doing like multiple like big storylines at the same time this time, instead of just leading up to like Thanos and Infinity War. They're doing like the whole Secret Invasion and like the multiverse stuff at the same time. So we'll see how long those stuff go on for, but it is interesting that they're not just going with one main thing. And there could be other stuff, like there's a lot of series and stuff. Like, we don't know where Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to lead us.
Oh, absolutely.
That could be, I don't know, Wolverine probably won't show up. Like, I don't think that they will go that far. But just thinking, like, he could just appear in that series, and then the whole mutants thing's already started. So that's 3 like massive things. Like, we already know that like that like city or something is showing up in that series, which is primarily like a mutant thing. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, you know what? I had it in my head before we started recording. Madripoor.
Yeah.
Madripoor, there you go.
Madripoor, yeah. Like, they could literally be building up like this like 3 massive like conclusions and like storylines at the same time. Maybe more, but we'll see.
We don't know how they roll into each other. It could well be that like Wanda opens the multiverse, and then some scrolls from any alternate universe come in, and they're the bad scrolls and whatever. You know, you never know.
They could literally just be like interconnecting. Wait, what? Oh my god, what if it's the weird tree monsters from X-Men? Multiverse.
Dark Phoenix, weird scroll. Not scroll people.
Like, they are like something from the comics, but I don't think anyone cares about them.
I honestly just don't care.
Scrolls versus trees.
I saw that film. I walked into it late. I spent the rest of the film half asleep. I put my shades on during it. It was the summer, so I put my shades on and I went to sleep. And then I woke up and laughed. It was awful. But yeah. So, what do you think? What do you think about the? Speaking about the sort of going forward, what do you think about the sort of the contents of this episode, and how, like, in terms of the Vision stuff, the Wanda stuff, the kid stuff, the Pietro stuff, and all like the different pieces? Like, well, let's start off by talking about let's say the smallest part of this episode, Mr. Ralph Boner.
Oh my god, don't even get me started. I heard it and saw the picture, and I literally just got my pillow and just slammed my face into it. Because, like, I am the biggest advocate here for them bringing across Evan Peters' Quicksilver. Because I love his character in those films, and I do think that they literally own all that property now, and I think it would be dumb of them at this point to not bring him across. I mean, they clearly just cast him as like a meta reference because obviously he played him in those films. But at the same time, it's just annoying because you're just staring at him on the screen, and then you find out that they're not doing that like whole route of the multiverse, which they're clearly building towards. The next Doctor Strange film is literally called The Multiverse of Madness. But I
mean, they could, though. They could still bring a Pietro from the multiverse in, and that's how we finally get my boy
Herb as Quicksilver. No, Herb for Quicksilver.
Herb for Quicksilver. You know what? I wouldn't be mad. Just big old Herb, just a big old Donnie running down the street at super speed. I would love it.
Exactly. It'd be like The Boys, you know, that scene in like the very first episode where he like runs through his girlfriend. Just it'd be like that.
Herb would not be able to handle it.
No.
He'd be slicing through brick walls, but instead of using like a hedge cutter, he'd just run through them.
Exactly. Oh no.
But yeah, I mean, I love his character in those movies, but I was never the biggest advocate like you of kind of like, oh yeah, let's make him like the actual Quicksilver from.
No. Yeah, like they could literally just multiverse him in, and they could just have 2 Quicksilvers. And obviously, one will go back and to his Fox magical universe where bad things happen, because
it's Fox
and tree monsters appearing, but like.
Yeah.
I just don't like the fact that they brought him in, and then in the end, it just wasn't his actual like Fox character, and they just did it as like a reference. That just sounds so dumb to me that they do that. Like,
I mean, to me,
you have him
personally-
there. Like, you have him there. Why not?
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting. You bring up an interesting point, and just that last part alone, to me, is interesting. Where you just go, why not? Because that is very much the case with the multiverse. It's why not? But I was kind of like, I knew from the get-go it wasn't going to be anything Quicksilver related in reality. I knew it wasn't going to lead to this sort of thing that everyone was thinking it would. I always kind of thought it was like, okay, there's a meta reference. Maybe there was some contracts held up from the Fox deal that they had to honor, so they brought him back. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a meta reference. But I always kind of knew it wasn't going to be anything. My biggest problem with it comes from, and I totally understand because of episode cut downs, but is the way it was just sort of thrown out there in the final episode. For like 2 minutes. It was like, oh, cool, we're in his man cave, and then that like leads people like you to thinking, and even me to an extent, where I was kind of like, oh, well, Quicksilver had a cool man cave which was covered in junk in the Fox films, and then it's literally like they cut away, then they cut back for like 30 seconds, and it's like, okay, his name's Ralph Boner, and I don't have a problem with the name. I just have a problem with how quickly they kind of was like, they just flipped the script. How quickly it was kind of like just wasn't handled, wasn't dealt with well, and I totally understand why. The pandemic has fucked everything, but for me personally, I could have done with that. I could have personally just done with them just not even including him in the episode, and maybe bringing it up in a later show or film or whatever. I don't care, but just to me, it was just so rushed, and it felt like a bit underwhelming, even for a jokey reveal.
Yeah, like,
you know,
it's so like such a slap in the face that he's there and they just don't want to like utilize him for his actual character, because I mean, I guess they don't like the Fox films. Not many people, well, they're hit and miss. Like, some of them are really good, and then some of them are just really bad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like
X-Men, X2, Days of Future Past, First Class, Deadpool, Logan, all solid films.
There's so much love for those, like, for some of those films.
Oh, absolutely. But you know, I mean, either way, whoever they bring back, and obviously you know who I'm rooting for, but whoever they bring back for Quicksilver, I hope he comes back, because even though I was like, oh, I'd prefer Aaron Taylor Johnson to come back, but I wouldn't mind Evan Peters. Even though I wasn't the biggest advocate for it, it was still like, even though after they did the Ralph Boner reveal, I was still kind of like, but I just want any Quicksilver at this point. Just gives me that character. I just want to see him back. I want to see his. I love speedster characters. I want to see his powers, his personality, his interactions with the kids and Wanda, and I want to see him. I want to see him get together with Crystal when they finally make the Inhumans, because they've never done that before. You know, I want to see this stuff. I want to see the character. But what I don't want to see is obviously that weird incest thing they did in the comics.
Oh no, they won't go that way. No.
But you're technically not from my multiverse.
Shut the fuck up. Okay, before bad things happen, should we move on to the next part you want to talk about?
I feel like we should. Let's talk about Vision and White Vision also. The first time we see him in this episode, he comes in, he does a madness, and I do not like it. I do not like that crunching sound one bit.
Ooh.
But
that scene is so like reminiscent of the comics, you know, where she's like Vision, and then he's just like standing there.
Yeah, legit, just emotionless. Kind of like that Thanos, where he's kind of like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, I don't give two shits about you. You are my mission. I'm supposed to destroy you. And I thought that was amazing. Like, that dude, Paul Bettany was a straight up Terminator in this film. When my guy walked out of the fire, I was like, I'm back in Judgment Day again.
my like nitpick point here is, why did she not realize that he's literally just white now?
Yeah, but I suppose she was kind of like, well, maybe this is the real Vision. Vision, is
Oh,
that you?
yeah,
Yeah, you
maybe.
know, like, because obviously she's fully aware that, or aware now, as of the last episode, that this is her own creation. So, you know, I think that this was more kind of like her thinking this was the real Vision, which of course it is. It's the exact same Vision as before, but obviously no personality, no sort of emotions, and for those of you saying it's just a repaint, it is. He does have different parts. He's got a different head, obviously.
Oh,
He's got different, limbs and stuff like that. It is different, and that obviously brings us to the ship of Theseus argument, which
is it the same ship though, Brandon? Is it
yes,
the
it is.
same?
It is the same. It is the same. No, it's not. But still, that conversation was chef's kiss. And I guess we'll never know if it was the same ship. I
We'll
guess
have
we'll
to
never
go
know
and
if
see the
it's the
ship
same Vision.
ourselves.
We'll go find the ship, or we'll build our own ship, and we'll call it the ship of
Geekius.
ship of Geekius, and we'll get a big subscriber gang
Pack,
together,
yes.
and we'll have them as our crew, and we'll sail around
To Feige's office and ask
fight-
him
to-
why Evan Peters is not being used enough in this
Exactly.
stuff.
That is exactly what we'll do. So yeah, that what did you think of White Vision?
I liked his design. I liked that, like, they replaced the Infinity Stone. I don't even know. It's like some like arc reactor type shit that he's got there.
Like that, yeah.
That was interesting, and he's obviously going to be back. He just flew off. Don't know where.
Yeah, that was so
he could
funny.
just
He
be
was like,
sitting
"Where
on the
did you go?"
moon or something. He could be
He's
sitting
gonna
on
do
the
that
moon.
like that Dr. Manhattan thing where he's just sitting on the moon.
He's just sitting on the moon. You know the guy in the DreamWorks opening, like fishing? That's just him.
That's Vision. That's
It
canon
is.
now. That's MCU canon. The DreamWorks
mean,
open. You heard it
obviously-
here, guys. Big scoop.
Obviously, he's still got like visions. Well, now anyway, he's got visions, like memories and stuff. I don't understand how that works since Vision is technically not even there, and also Vision didn't even have his memories of like the Avengers and stuff.
I was just about to say the same
Like,
thing.
it makes no
When I was
sense.
watching it again or skimming through it again for this video, I was like, but how did he? Because he doesn't know. You know, I was
Yeah.
like,
He literally says in like one of the old episodes he doesn't even know who he is, and then he
Yeah,
doesn't know who
exactly.
the Avengers are, but then suddenly he's got all of these memories again of
Yeah, that
all that
was-
stuff. Or maybe Wanda like gave him his memories so he could fight. I don't know. That would make sense to me.
Who knows? It was kind of like a thing that would happen just off screen, where she was kind of like, "Here you go, mate. Have your bloody memories back."
Yeah, well, we don't know.
She said
though.
those exact words. That was the line.
And
that was
in the
like what she
accent
used.
as well.
In the accent, she did, yeah. Because obviously, what's happening with her accent? We
Yeah.
don't know.
In the next film, she's gonna come in and she's gonna have like a big thick ass Australian accent.
Then African. Who knows? Who knows?
Who
Who
knows?
knows with this girl? It's the multiverse, man. Why not?
It's like gonna be like the Council of Ricks, but it's just the Council of Wonders, and they've all got a different accent.
That'd be brilliant. I'd actually. You know what? I don't even care. I'd love that. So yeah, that's kind of like. I feel like he's just going off to contemplate stuff, where he's kind of like, "What is my life? What is meaning?"
Am I the ship of Theseus?
He is the ship of Theseus.
He's gone to find it. He's just staring at it for the next like 10 years.
You just see him swimming. He's like, he's taken up Olympic swimming. He's like, I am the ship of Theseus. I do whatever I want.
I don't know. Where do you think that he's gonna appear next?
You bring up a very good point there, because everyone else has been like, oh, Wanda's Doctor Strange. Monica is like Captain Marvel 2 and Secret Invasion, and Jimmy Woo could be Ant-Man 3. But where is Vision going? Like, in the future, do we see him in Young Avengers next, because he plays a big role in that, or do we see him in Armor Wars maybe?
Do you think he's
I don't
gonna
know.
like restore like his actual like color or not? Or do you think he's gonna be White Vision forever? Because I'm sure that he has the magical abilities to like not continue to be White Vision.
Oh, he can, yeah.
I'm sure he's
But I
gonna
got
appear
one
and
word
like
for you.
turn into color again. I mean, it'd be pretty cool, but like, I don't know. I don't know.
like White Vision, and I think they'll keep him around for a little bit, but I've got one word for you, Will. Merchandise.
That's
They know
true.
suckers like me who've already seen the WandaVision Marvel Legends and are like, I need that. So
Yeah,
they're
that's
obviously
fair.
going to be like, okay, let's give him a new look for this one. I would personally like an all new different style Vision. I don't know if I've sent you the image, but there is this Instagram artist who's done this sort of this edit of Vision in his all new or different suit. I don't know if you know even what that looks like.
Not really.
But it's sick. I'll send it to you now while we're talking. But it's a really sick suit, and I hope they kind of dive into that a little bit more. And that is the suit I would personally like to see him wear in the future.
I mean, yeah, they'll probably keep it for a little bit.
I mean, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, who really knows what they're gonna do? But I mean, yeah, moving on to Wanda. I thought she was pretty sick in this episode. I'm really excited. Like people saying, "Oh yeah, she's just like shooting fireballs and stuff." It's like,
Ooh.
yeah, but it was fireballs that kind of like people are saying. Basically, people are saying it wasn't a very interesting fight, but I thought it was cool because it had a purpose. It was like, oh, it's the runes and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
like
Obviously,
she doesn't exactly have like crazy powers yet. She will probably next time we see her because she's reading the Darkhold and she's learning. But like at the moment, it's just very similar like powers to what we've seen her do before.
Red Wiggly Woos.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably just what they're doing at the moment. And then next time, I don't know, she'll be opening portals to Tobey Maguire land and who fuck knows what else.
Who needs Universal Studios?
Exactly.
You got Tobey Maguire land.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then when she got the suit and the little I think it's called a wimple.
A wimple.
Headdress. It's called a wimple, I think. When she got that, I was like, oh right, I'm done. I'm finished.
They could have made the suit a little bit more red though. Like the behind the scenes pictures make it look so more like vibrant compared to
yes.
Like, it looks a bit more washed out in the actual show. Maybe that's just like the color grading, like filters and stuff they used. But yeah,
I totally understand that. I totally get you there. I think that's something they could maybe tweak slightly in future movies. You know, where they do slight alterations where it's barely noticeable, but people like us who look at these things too much notice. I think it could be cool to see that kind of thing in the future. Where it gets a little bit more to like the color palette of like the Age of Ultron post-credit scene or like Civil War or something like that, where it's just a little bit more red, with obviously darker shades in there. But all in all, I'm very happy. I mean, as you bring up the post-credit scene and her reading the Darkhold, I was like, dude, I was like, oh my god!
And then the Doctor
It's
Strange
happening.
music just casually playing, you know.
Very sinister, very bloody sinister. And yeah, and that's really cool to me. Like she's able to astral project without being unconscious, and that obviously that leads in that kind of plays on what Agatha said, and like, you know, you are more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, you know.
But she's making breakfast for dinner. Ooh.
She is. Who does that? I tell you who, the Brits. We love a good breakfast for dinner.
Exactly.
Slap a hash brown on my plate and I'll love you forever.
Exactly.
So, you know, there's that.
Talking about Agatha and powers and stuff, what do you think she's talking about when she's like, you have no idea what you've unleashed?
Yes. My first thought was the multiverse, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
She kind of breaks it with unleashing, but how does her becoming the Scarlet Witch, the Scarlet Witch, break the multiverse? Surely she'd have to do something as opposed to just, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, if they go down the route that there's been like more than one Scarlet Witch, right? They could go down the route that like one of the past versions is like evil or something, and they want their powers back, and they're coming back for her. Maybe that's why. Maybe
so like it's like a mantle, like as she says, you are the Scarlet Witch, as if it's kind of like the Scarlet Witch rather than just, oh, that's your superhero name. It's kind of like that's a mantle. I get you. That's cool. Like, who could that be? Because like you would think that'd be something like a comic thing, right?
yeah, I'm not sure whether it is like I'm like her. I think in like the newer comics that her mum was also like the Scarlet Witch, or there's something like that when they like retconned that it wasn't her father, wasn't Magneto or some shit. Whenever they like decided that that wasn't funny enough, but I'm pretty sure that her mum was like also the Scarlet Witch, and then
I think
again,
it was like I think it wasn't like Chthon imbued a newborn infant that would then just become Scarlet Witch or something like that.
yeah,
Like
there's
with
some
a
weird
latent
stuff.
power from from magic or something like that. So maybe they could twist something. We know the MCU likes to make things different, likes to keep it different. So it's entirely plausible that they could be just like, oh yeah, Nightmare's now a woman and Nightmare's now a Scarlet Witch. It makes no sense. I know what I just said doesn't even fit with Nightmare, but you know what, the kind of thing I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, this character, yeah, now a previous Scarlet Witch, but now they're just a magic user.
Mm-hmm. Like, just over time, they've just like lost maybe like the right to be the Scarlet Witch, and now it's passed on to her because I don't know. We will see.
We'll see. But let's talk about the post-credit scenes. So we'll start off as we were talking about Wanda. We'll start off with the post, then we'll go into the mid because that's a totally different sort of branch. She's reading the Darkhold, as we said. A book is called The Book of the Damned, so it's not exactly a good place to start off in your magic learning. You'd be better off going to like
Magic for noobs.
Kathmandu and going to the place that Doctor Strange trained that I can't remember the name of.
Oh yeah.
You'd be better off going there, asking Wong for a book or two. But she's starting off with a pretty dark book, so that obviously is going to lead into her being a somewhat of a more darker, villainous, sinister character.
Which is interesting because a lot of the MCU villains haven't quite gone down that route yet.
Exactly. And very often they make it so it's like a villain is not totally bad, they're good. So now it's kind of like, oh, a hero is now not totally good, she's kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Obviously, Chthon, as I mentioned earlier, is the author of the Darkhold. He wrote it in the Darkhold, spelled slightly different to the book, which is like a chamber among caverns inside the mountain. But what I will say though, is that people are using this and the Darkhold looking different to decanonize Marvel TV, and I will still never give up that battle until the day that it is definitively not canon. May I remind people that Morgan Le Fay, who appeared in Runaway Season 3 with the Darkhold, which also appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Cloak and Dagger, she wrote a second copy in the comics of the Darkhold. So all I'm saying is Marvel TV's Darkhold could be a different one written by Morgan, and this one could be written by Chthon. I'm just going to put that out there because I will never stop.
That makes sense though, because the one in that show literally says like Darkhold on the front.
Yeah,
in
it's
English.
a bit more like exactly, yeah, and it feels a bit more human. Like Morgan Le Fay would have sort of been like, oh, the Darkhold, I know what that is. I'm just going to write a book and call it the Darkhold.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes more sense. And let's face it, we're probably never going to see Morgan Le Fay again. So it makes sense to kind of have that and the second Darkhold self-contained in Marvel TV. And then you can have this one in the MCU. It's kind of like you can have your cake and eat it too, you know?
Yeah.
So obviously this is going to lead into Multiverse of Madness with her hearing the twins calling her name. So I'd imagine they have found a way to sort of, maybe her hex is kind of like, she's pulled from a different reality. She hasn't, maybe, yes, it came out of her, but with her being a hex being, perhaps they could explain it in a way where it's like everything that came out of her and into the hex, all of her creations, as opposed different, her creations are different to her warping reality, but like all of her creations, like Vision and the twins, are from a different universe.
That goes like, that's very similar to like Into the Spider-Verse, you know, when they're all like glitching out and like because they're not meant to be in that universe. Maybe that's like the MCU version of that. Like when like the hex is like the safe area for them, and she's using
know
her
what you mean.
powers to like shield them, but when they're outside of that, like that's why Vision started to like crumble and get dragged back in because he's not meant to be there, and maybe that's why they didn't want to go outside of the hex because
That's very clever.
it's like just not where they're meant to be and outside of her jurisdiction.
Yeah, no, that's entirely plausible. I'm not going to say that's going to happen because that's when you get into things.
This is just theories and
speculation.
fun. Yeah.
But like, you know, it's entirely plausible that it could be like, oh yeah, her kids and Vision from another universe. She just pulled them into her own because she's a hex being and whatever, and maybe that chamber that Agatha was in is the hex. So her being nearer to the hex enables her to do that.
Nexus, Brandon.
The Nexus.
The
what
Nexus.
Am I saying? Oh my god, I've been saying hex this whole time. She's a Nexus being, and the hex was there. Nexus. Shut up, Brandon.
Shut up, dude.
But yeah, you know, it's entirely plausible. So that could be it, and she's obviously going to have to go into the multiverse or something to retrieve them, perhaps. But yeah, it does raise the question though. If Doctor Strange senses that she's kind of broken the multiverse or something, cool. But how did he not know about all of this other stuff?
Yeah, like what's he been doing this whole time?
I mean, I get it's been like a week. Maybe the dude just wants to chill. But
yeah,
you know, it's kind of like when Batman sees the bat signal, he's like, "I'll get it next time."
Maybe he's already in the multiverse. I don't know. Maybe he's like cleaning up the timelines or something like Deadpool.
I mean, that's true. That's true. I mean, Avengers Endgame did essentially deal with the multiverse, so
exactly.
He could be like just checking things are okay. Like he goes back to the Sanctum. Wong's like, "Okay, dude, we won the battle, but the Avengers did you tap into the multiverse only slightly, but they tapped into the multiverse to enable us to win. You need to go in and just check that something's not amiss." And he's just been in there the whole time, and like even like throughout up until Spider-Man Homecoming, which is why he's not available. He's been in there trying to be like, "Oh man, everything's just collapsing. This is not good."
What if he meets himself, like, you know, in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films where he's like, Doctor Strange, taken.
I feel like it's a huge missed opportunity if Sam Raimi, who is directing Doctor Strange, doesn't put Doctor Strange from the Raimiverse, another universe he directed, and have them meet.
That would be wild.
But yeah, speaking of wild, got some wild setup for Captain Marvel 2 and Secret Invasion. Only a quick one here with the scroll, or a scroll, should I say, not the scroll, a scroll.
There's only one now.
There's only one can remain. Too many scrolls. But a scroll came up to Monica and was like, "Listen, he wants you up there." Now, who's she on about? God? I don't know. I'd imagine Nick Fury, right? I think is the safe answer.
Probably, yeah. I don't know how he'd know about all this. I mean, they've probably been like reporting on it because the Skrull was like a sword agent, I think.
Yeah.
So
or
they've probably, yeah, they've been reporting to him. Obviously, he's been in space for a bit of a long time now, so he's probably informed on what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So I'd imagine it's going to be like, oh yeah, he wants you up in the space station, and that's how we're going to get like Sword, how we know and love it in the comics, where we're going to see them in space. We're going to see that team from the Sword comics, which I'm not very familiar with, but I know Beast is a part of, so that's cool. So yeah, that's a cool setup. Whether it pays off in Secret Invasion or Captain Marvel 2, I can't say for sure. But I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
It all depends on the timeline of this. For all we know, Secret Invasion could take place in like 2021 or something like that during the snap, and like it's just a thing of like Fury and Talos going through the galaxy, being like, oh, the Skrulls. By the end, they'll find like, oh, the Skrulls are coming to invade Earth or something like that. You know,
or they've just like already started, and they do like a Age of Ultron and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, where it's like, call the Avengers, but there aren't any.
Yeah, and then we see it pay off in like something else. It's like, oh yeah, we need to let them know that this is happening.
But then that film would be set before, or unless it like spans over a couple of years, maybe.
That's the thing. I mean, at this current point in a post-Endgame world, we have no idea as to the timeline of many of these things. Like, we know WandaVision is like a week after We know Falcon Winter Soldier is like 6 weeks after, or 6 months after. Sorry. Far From Home is like 8 months after. So the timeline at this point is kind of just more dealing with the events of, as opposed to just like, yes, let's press forward,
Yeah. But the thing is, though, if that series leads into the next, like, Avengers film, that's not going to be great since, I don't know, that series could come out, like, next year, and the next Avengers film is still very far away from happening.
I think Secret Invasion is something or that kind of storyline is what you play the long game with.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Secret Invasion, it's a show with Fury and Talos. They're in space, they're doing something, they're investigating something. By the end of it, they're like, oh shit, the Skrulls. Yeah, not all of us are so good. Yeah, some of them are coming to Earth and they're doing some bad shit. Then Captain Marvel 2, it's like, okay, maybe this is like a separate storyline, but by like a post-credit scene, she's like, Fury, what do you want? He's like, some bad shit's happening. You need to get the Avengers together. And then we get something else. Like an Avengers Secret Wars or something like that.
Do you think, this is a really, like, off-topic question here, but do you think Thor will be in the next Avengers film, or do you think they're just done with him after the next Thor movie?
Oh, he's absolutely going to stick around. But he'll play a slightly different role. Like, it just depends on what they do with the Avengers brand, in my opinion. Because, in my opinion, the Avengers brand is now different factions, or it should be different factions.
Yeah, it just feels
like... It should
like...
not be Avengers. It should be the Young Avengers, the New Avengers, the West Coast, the whatever, the this, the that, the A-Force, whatever. It should be different teams, because they are so large now. You can't have, like, 50 characters in one film.
Like, Doctor Strange is now an Avenger, the Guardians of the Galaxy, who are already their own team, are now Avengers. Like,
yeah,
the Avengers just feels like it should just be called, like, Marvel Endgame or something like that now. If I was thinking about it like that, like, like the next one, I don't know. Give me a storyline that they'll probably make the next Avengers film on, like Secret Wars, like Marvel Secret Wars.
Yeah,
instead of Avengers.
I feel like what they'll do is, like, Young Avengers, make it a Disney Plus show. If you're gonna do like the New Avengers, have it as like have the New Avengers be, it's like this. That's the main brand going forward. With, like, you got your main hitters, but you don't include everyone. You got your Black Panther or whoever they decide to go with. Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Vision, and I don't know. Maybe Ant-Man and Wasp. And then going forward, you have other things like Champions and Young Avengers in their own sort of like spin-offs,
Yeah.
But then they also culminate in, like, into this big kind of like crossover type thing.
And that's like Avengers 5 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like, that's just everyone.
I do want to see that different factions, though. I want to see an A-Force show. I want to see a Young Avengers show. Heck, I want to see a West Coast Avengers show. Branch the Avengers out. I'm not sick of seeing New York, but I'm sick of this kind of like this mentality that only bad things can happen in this one place. I also want to see different countries. Bring me like something in the UK. With, like, obviously with the X-Men you have like Excalibur or something, but I want to see something more worldwide,
I mean, they are going that way. Wakanda's getting its own series. Latveria.
Latveria would be cool to do some stuff in, and I imagine they will.
There's also another place that I can't remember the name of that we've literally said like 10 minutes. Yeah, that's the one.
Krakoa, I'd imagine they'll dive into with a lot more with the X-Men. So yeah, I'm excited to see them go a lot more worldwide, because I was discussing this with my parents when we were watching Superman and Lois. I like how in the first 3 episodes he goes to a bunch of different countries to take down to stop some bad shit from happening. In just the first 3 episodes, it doesn't feel like, oh, we're living in Kansas. Yeah, we're gonna have a big problem in Kansas every episode. It annoys me with the same sort of formula where it's like, oh, so when aliens invade, they only have New York City in mind.
Yeah, like
the one place where they know that the Avengers are, rather than attacking, Birmingham or something. Where there are just no heroes currently active in Birmingham. Just go there.
Yeah,
easy.
the most probable place that they'd invade is Russia, just since it's because the biggest country. Like, that's the most
Speaking
chance
of
of
which,
landing on a random place would just go to Russia.
yeah, true. And speaking of which, give me the fucking Winter Guard. Come on, Marvel. You've already got Red Guardian in there. Give me. You're probably gonna give me Crimson Dynamo in Armor Wars. I want to see that shit too. If we're on about teams and different things we want to see in different places, give me the Winter Guard, please.
Yeah, just keep building up all these different teams and then Avengers them into the next massive Avengers film.
Yeah. But before we go too off topic, let's finish off this video with talking about the unseen original plans for WandaVision. And this was supposed to be 10 episodes. And it
Yeah.
was going to have some different stuff. It was going to stretch out a little bit longer. And this is when I was talking about earlier with the ninth episode. Although I love it, I feel like it was a bit squished and a bit rushed. And this very much plays into that. So I believe his name's Matt Schaefer. No, something like that. He said that what I can. He basically said about the 10th episode is there were 10 episodes planned, and that there were going to be more stuff. Or was it Matt Shankman, the director? Sorry, just before.
No, it's probably both of them.
Yeah,
Jack Schaefer. That's one of them.
Yeah,
he's a showrunner.
So they basically said, the showrunner or the director, I don't remember, but they basically said there was 10 episodes, and there was supposed to be some more stuff with the kids, Monica and Evan Peters, Ralph Boner. And they were supposed to go into Agatha's basement, and there was going to be this reveal that the rabbit, Senor Scratchy, was going to turn into a demon. Whoever this was, I don't know. It could have been Nicholas Scratch. It could have been anyone else. I don't know who. Or it could have just been a random demon. But it was going to transform, and they were going to have that to deal with. And there was going to be other elements in there, and it was basically everything that I was kind of talking about with it being squished. It was going to be stretched a little bit more.
Yeah,
what do you think about this?
Yeah, they collapsed like 2 episodes into one. But
yeah,
that would have been interesting, because I'm guessing that if there were 10 episodes, then there was a lot more room for like Doctor Strange to appear, because Benedict Cumberbatch was talking about this, and he said that it would have been fun and it would have led into Doctor Strange too, but he said that he's sorry that it didn't happen. But I guess again, he didn't have to be there. Like, it does just it's just like a fun cameo type thing that would have been nice, but it doesn't change too much. But I mean, the scene where they're all working together with that like demon thing would have been interesting, because at that point, would it have been that Ralph's like super speed would have gone away? Would this have been after she like took that magical necklace away from him?
I would think so, or else he'd still be under what's his face's control, Agatha's control. So I'd imagine he played up for comedy. I imagine he'd be like screaming and running about the place, flailing about, and they'd be like, the kids would be like, "The hell's up with that guy?"
Yeah, basically. You know? What's up with Uncle P?
What's up with
Nah, my name's Ralph Boner, but you're gonna learn that later in school, kiddos.
Jesus Christ, you learn. What school did you go to? I mean, you went to mine,
they're like 10.
We did not learn that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it would have been cool. It definitely would have solved my only complaint over that one sort of Evan Peters reveal. Would have been stretched out a little bit more and explored a little bit more, rather than just, oh, this is the reveal, you're never gonna see him again. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, they can still do stuff with that character, I guess. Not much. Well, they can still like retcon him back as like hit Quicksilver. I did see this like theory going, like another of these amazing TikTok theories that it's still Pietro from the multiverse. He's just chosen that name as like what was Jimmy Woo looking for? Like he had like a missing person. No, it wasn't. It was like
no, it was a missing persons in witness protection.
Because
the person was in witness protection, but he went missing.
That's it. That's the one. Like, they were saying that, he chose that name because he would make a funny joke, like, haha, Boner. That's like
Well, he's an actor. He's an actor. I think. I think he might have chosen that name anyway as a sort of stage name. The character, I believe the character is like
yeah,
a
that's why he's got
famous
like the
actor.
headshot, doesn't he?
Well, the headshot is actually one of Evan
Yeah.
Peters' early headshots. So that's kind of fun. But I think it's interesting that you bring up the missing persons case, because I believe it was Randall Park who plays Jimmy Woo, the best character, who did say that that wasn't the missing persons, but we could still see that plot line, that kind of plot thread show up in the future. So
The Jimmy Woo show. I forgot what it's called.
Make it
but
happen.
The Jimmy Woo team.
the M Files,
That's the one.
or something, that whatever fans are calling it, it's just not been
The Woo
confirmed. But I
Files.
want to see it. I think that'd be sick. But yeah, I think a 10-episode thing. Obviously, COVID hit, and that's where we get this sort of episode conversion thing into one. COVID hit. It was an asshole to everyone, including film production and TV show production, and it sort of, I don't know. It didn't ruin it, but it didn't have that satisfactory effect on that we would have had with 2 episodes exploring this kind of what happened in this episode. And I think it's interesting that we could have had another episode and another week of WandaVision. And I like it. I like the fact that we could have seen this for another week and stayed with these characters for just a little bit longer. And plus it was 5 for the 5 stages of grief. We had 2 episodes on each stage, and then the final stage, acceptance, we had 1 episode, and that's kind of stresses me out.
Mm-hmm. Like
I feel like it's a
it
bit
still
rushed.
felt like it wrapped up nicely, but it could have been like even better. Like it's like an 8 out of 10, but if it had another episode, it could have been like a 10 out of 10 kind of finale.
Yeah, it would have just made the rhythm feel a little better, rather than just where we ended up just collapsing a couple of episodes.
I think that's fair to say. So
Yeah, I think we're about done here, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but I feel like with a show like this and so much to say, it doesn't even matter, because there is so much to unpack, and there is so much to talk about and theorize about, and it's definitely worth the excitement.
Oh yeah.
So we hope you guys enjoyed this new format, and going forward, we are going to be trying this in a couple of days with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It just makes things a lot easier with editing, writing, me going back to college, and plus them being hour-long episodes. There's going to be even more to unpack. So it's just going to make sure that you don't have videos out like we did the other day, where 2 weeks later we just gotten out.
Yeah, WandaVision episode 8. Woo!
Woo! But yeah, it just makes things a lot easier on us. We hope you enjoy it. We hope you understand. And going forward, this is the plan. And we're very excited to do this kind of thing, because it also makes for a slightly more interesting video, because it leaves it open to discussion. So,
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's end this up. Let's wrap this up, because we've got one more video to record for you guys before we go to bed, and I have to wake up at 6:30 to watch the Snyder Cut, which will already be out by the time this is out. So I hope you enjoy that too. As always, I've been Brandon.
And I've been Will.
And we'll see you guys whenever we see you next.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here today, then maybe consider subscribing to catch our other content as and when it releases.